Hey, howdy, hey, how is everybody doing? And welcome back to Disney Daily. So today I'm going to be reviewing the newest Disney movie, Cruella. And I'll be honest with you all, I was both excited for this movie, but also I had really low expectations. Now, the reason why I was excited was because it's another Disney villain story. And I, like probably many of you, really enjoy Disney villains. So I was excited to see this origin tale of the fabulous Cruella. But I also had really low expectations just because I felt like the previous Disney villain movie that we've had, live action version of course, Maleficent, is almost untouchable. So I was like, are they gonna do as good of a job with this villain like they did with the last one? And the answer to that question is, I think they did a good job. Do I think it was as good as Maleficent's tale? I personally don't think so. But it was a really good tale, and I want to tell you guys the pros and cons, the things that I liked and the things that I didn't like about the film. First and foremost, the costuming. It was spectacular. I have not seen outfits like this in quite a long time. I mean, they just, honestly, all of the pieces, from the ones that Cruella was wearing to the Baroness to all of the supporting actors and actresses in the film, it was fabulous. And honestly, I'm really happy that they made the costuming as big and luxurious as they did, because it's Cruella. She's the fashion queen. And honestly, this movie made sure to really show and highlight that Cruella is the queen of fashion. The second thing that I really enjoyed was the fact that they were able to really capture how multi-layered and multi-dimensioned Cruella is. I mean, obviously in the animated version, we kind of just see a very straightforward version of Cruella, that she's just an evil person that wants to skin dogs. But in this one, they really dive deeply into all of the layers that make up Cruella. And they really answered the question, why is she evil? Which is a really important question. And they also answered the question, why was she out for Dalmatians? Because as we see, she clearly has this big vendetta against Dalmatians. And so they were able to answer, I think, two of the most important questions about Cruella as a character. And to piggyback off of that, Emma Stone was an incredible Cruella, which I will say I was a little scared to see her as Cruella. As much as I love Emma Stone, I was a little worried about attaching such a big name to this movie. I thought maybe just having her name being there might overpower like the movie itself and the story itself, but she was brilliant. She really brought this character to life and showed just how complex Cruella really is. And honestly, at least me personally, by the end of the film, you end up really loving Cruella and you end up really understanding her. Another thing that I really liked that they did was they brought in the characters that we are familiar with in the old versions of the film, such as Horace, Jasper, Anita, and Roger. I was really happy to see all of those characters on screen and being a part of Cruella's story. I feel like that's something they could have left out if they wanted to, just because we were following Cruella from a very young age. They could have easily just kind of glossed over those characters, but they actually made them part of the story, and in a very creative way. Another part that I really liked about this movie was the soundtrack. I feel like it really set the tone and the mood for the sequence that we were about to see play out on screen. I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I actually looked up the soundtrack as soon as I got out of the theater. That's how much I really enjoyed it. Another thing that I really liked about this movie was the unexpected twist. Now, I always really like movies to throw in something that's unexpected, an element of surprise, so that it's not so predictable. And honestly, this twist, I don't think anyone will see coming. And so that really made the movie that much more exciting and fun to watch. So this next part is going to have some spoilers, so if you don't want to know anything, turn away now, but I am going to talk about some of the things that I didn't particularly like about the film. The first thing that I didn't really like about the film was the opening sequence where we learn about Cruella's mom falling to her death because of Dalmatians, essentially. And it was a bit cheesy for me. It was a little over over the top, and I was a little anxious after watching the scene about what the rest of the movie was going to look like. Now, I will say that the movie obviously gets 100 times better, so you just have to kind of write it out. But that first sequence, the opening sequence, was a little hard to swallow and a bit cheesy in my opinion. Another thing I didn't really like about this film was Cruella's contradictory feelings towards Dalmatians. Now, as I said before, they did answer the question, why did Cruella not like Dalmatians? And you clearly get that from the beginning of the film. But by the end of the film, we see that she owns 3 Dalmatians herself, and she clearly has a fondness for them, a love for them. So that part kind of bothered me because the two were very contradictory. And so then we're kind of left wondering, well, when did she learn to hate Dalmatians again? Because clearly she did like them, otherwise she wouldn't have them as a pet. So that was something that I didn't really quite understand nor enjoy. One last thing that I didn't really like was us not getting enough background information on the Baroness. I really liked her addition to the story, but we didn't really learn much about her and why she was the way she was. We got one like flashback sequence when Cruella was a baby and her kind of being a bit crazy, but we don't really get much about the Baroness, which makes me that much more curious about her. So that was actually kind of a con for me, just because I feel like they could have thrown in a little bit more history about her because she was such an interesting character. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. In conclusion, I think this was a good movie. I would definitely give it probably 7 out of 10. I mean, there was an amazing cast, out of this world costuming, and adorable dogs. And really, you can't go wrong with all of those 3 things mixed together. If you have seen the film, go ahead and leave what you thought down in the comments. Or if you haven't seen this film, tell me who your favorite character from 101 Dalmatians is. As always, thanks for being my guest here at Disney Daily. Until next time.